Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nic Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. Today, we're joined by Tamara Bruno. Tamara is a partner at Pillsbury, Winthrop, and Shaw Pittman. That's a lot of names there, but it's glad to have you. I'll let her tell us a little more about what she does there and about herself. Tamara, I'm glad to have you. Can't wait to visit with you. Can you let our listeners know more about you and what it is you do on a daily basis?
Thanks, Nick. I'm thrilled to be here. Tamara Bruno. I am the lead Texas partner in Pillsbury's, I won't say the whole thing because it's a law firm, it is a mouthful, in Pillsbury's Texas Insurance Recovery and Advisory Practice Group. And so what that means is that I spend my days advising companies on insurance and risk, and then helping them with claims and disputed claims. Not every insurance claim goes smoothly. So when there are disputes with insurance carriers, we will represent the policyholder or the insured, the one who's getting the insurance, in the claim against the insurance companies, and if necessary, go into litigation on those disputes. We try not to get there, we try to get everything resolved and get the money in the door without going that far, but sometimes the loss is too big or the claim is just too complicated and there's no choice and we end up in court. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's neat. And I'm in the multifamily real estate world. So we think, knock on wood, we haven't had big suits, but I know I have peers that have had, and a couple of the hurricanes have got them and, just trying to battle on what they're going to get paid and pay, unfortunately, in a timely manner. It's like, hey, we paid our insurance for years and now we have this. We really don't want to fight for a year or 2 years. We want to get our property back up and operational. So one, people can have a place to live and we can make our payments. I mean, I haven't been that, but they need that rental income to make the debt payment and the utility payment and all this stuff. And then, if it's taken a couple of years or longer to get settled, I know it can be frustrating. So it's great. There's got teams like yours that are out there helping people navigate those hurdles, because you guys deal with it on a daily basis where, if all of a sudden I had a big loss on a property, I've never dealt with it. So I think engaging a law firm to help guide you or, something like that could definitely bring a lot of value, because, it's hopefully I never have to deal with it. But if I did, it's good to have somebody that knows the ins and outs and how to walk the path.
Yes, I have all my fingers crossed for you. Usually when clients reach out to me, I'm like, I'm sorry to hear you're going through this, and I wish you didn't have to engage me. But now that you're in this situation, here we are. I think what is so interesting about insurance, I mean, you were able to just jump in there with your personal experience. Insurance touches absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's behind so much you don't even notice some of the time. When we first think about it, we think of first party claims like you were just talking about, right? Some kind of natural disaster, a hurricane, a fire, and we do handle those types of claims, but insurance goes beyond that and literally touches. I mean, name one thing insurance doesn't touch.
No, I mean,
you can't think of anything, right?
Even theft or different things like that, or your computer, your AI, computer stuff, everything's insured some way.
100%. And so a lot of that is first party insurance, as I mentioned, property damage. And that also can be cyber loss, right? If you have someone who social engineering, phishing events, you accidentally send a bunch of money to a third party hacker, because of a situation that they've engineered, or other first party losses like, organizations, taking, theft, as you mentioned, government seizures, but also third-party claims. And so a lot of what folks may not realize is that you kind of know this maybe from your homeowner's insurance, right? If someone slips and falls at your house, or your tree accidentally falls on a neighbor's, you also have coverage for that liability. And that's very much true in the corporate world, in the business world. Companies are always trying to shift their risk. And they either shift that onto counterparties or they shift it onto insurance companies. And that's where a lot of the claims that I personally work on come into, which is literally insurance for litigation.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you're sued because you caused injury, or sued because intentionally or not, sued because of a securities violation, really anything, something in corporate transactions, there's probably an insurance policy that's going to respond. And once you know about it, you kind of see in the news and the way things are handled and the way different lawsuits are settled, sometimes for staggering numbers. What people may not realize, that insurance is almost always behind it. And so it's kind of this meta, it's like a layer above what's going on, right? Where you
Yeah.
have the actual insurance portion of it as well. And to your point, if you have a significant loss, you need someone who can help you navigate that, because the insurance companies, they have lawyers, right? They have lawyers on retainer, they have very specialized lawyers. And so you really need someone who understands that on your side. And our practice is one of the largest in the country. We have 50 policyholder side lawyers, more than almost anyone else. We've handled any kind of claim. So it's also interesting because, you know, you'll learn about different people's business, and you also learn about all these different incidents. For example, Apple hired us to be their first litigation coverage counsel in connection with the Travis Scott Astroworld incident, where there were lawsuits against Apple saying that they had contributed in part to some of the losses that were caused by that devastating event. And like I was saying, for liability, all these companies have insurance for that. And so it becomes part of the way these lawsuits work.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And you don't even, on a day to day, unless you're in that world, you're not aware that it makes sense to insure, just like insurance, an automobile accident, but you insure other, especially as you get into bigger businesses that are more exposed. You probably want to be insured against almost every possibility within reason. And so it's just, yeah, wow. That was a little eye opening knowing that there
Yeah.
are a lot of stuff. So, how it's interesting, kind of a niche part of law, and one that I hadn't really thought of until today. How did your journey get you to where you are now? There's lots of competition to be a lawyer. I have a daughter that's wanting to go to law school. She's actually took her first mock or practice LSAT test the other day, so just finished her sophomore undergraduate, but it's interesting, and I know she's worried about the competition. So what's something that kind of share your journey from maybe law school or undergrad to where you are now, and maybe some of the challenges you've had?
Yeah, well, best of luck to her. I love the LSAT. I actually taught the LSAT, and that's what got me into law school, believe it or not. I think it's a fantastic test because all the answers are in the test. You don't have to know anything. It's just, finding the answers in the test, which is maybe a little easier said than done, I suppose.
Yes.
So funny enough, I went to undergrad in New York City at NYU Tisch School of the Arts. I was a theater major. I was a director and a playwright. I had a theater company. I wrote plays. Had no intention of going to law school. So your daughter is way ahead of me, and really hadn't thought about that as a career path at all. I had come to New York City. This is maybe kind of funny. I'd come to New York City from rural Ohio, a little town called Xenia, spelled Xenia. Cows and corn. And I was like, let's move to the big city. And I thought everyone, this kind of pre-internet. I didn't have access to the internet. I didn't know very much. So I thought everyone in New York was an artist, right? And then you show up and you're like, wow, was I wrong? But I was there doing my art in New York City, and then, had some student loans. Life is very expensive. I got a second job. I was waitressing at the time, actually at the Red Lobster in Times Square, which I opened as a wait staff person. So if you've ever been there, you might have come across you. And took this side job teaching LSAT because I'd taken a practice LSAT, did quite well on it, and I just enjoyed that kind of thinking, and I enjoyed those logic games. I think for people who are thinking about law school and a career in the law, the LSAT is also good because if it makes you miserable, if it truly makes you miserable, you might want to think about what that means, right? Because a lot of law is reading dense text and quickly and coming to, conclusions and logical decisions about it. It kind of is that work on a fundamental level.
Gotcha.
If you really dislike it, maybe you won't enjoy law school so much. If you like it, then you probably will enjoy law school. And
good,
so
my daughter did enjoy it. She's like, oh, I scored because she zero practice. She's like, I just want to take it the first time, just cold. And
baseline.
she was happy with her score.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear it. And so anyway, I ended up taking the real thing and got a full tuition scholarship to law school on Long Island, a school called Hofstra,
Okay, nice.
which was the only way I possibly could have gone to. I paid for any undergrad myself, couldn't have gone to graduate school without support. And so this was really a huge opportunity for me and a completely unexpected one. As I said, I didn't intend to go to law school, didn't really want to become a lawyer in a broad sense, but saw this as an opportunity. And I think especially if you're someone who doesn't have so many opportunities presented to you, you have to take the ones that you get and really run with them and see what you can make of them. And so then when I got out of law school, I just have my life, Nic, fantastic timing. Summered in 2008, got out of law school in 2009. And as you might remember, there was an economic crisis going on, and it was very much affecting lawyers and lawyer recruiting. And so anyway, long story, I ended up at a firm that was litigation only because they were suing banks left and right in New York, right? Because they didn't have conflicts. And they had brought in this very high level insurance recovery practice. And so I actually started very early on doing this work.
Okay.
And I found it interesting because it's plaintiff's work. So it's more strategic. It's a lot of advising, which I love to get in early, because you get in early and you tell clients, here, we can work on your insurance policies and fix this ahead of time. We can get you language that's going to fit your business and that's less likely to cause a problem down the line, which I really enjoyed that aspect of it. As well as, I just don't really feel bad about suing insurance companies. It's,
Sure.
They're doing what they do. They're in their business, but they can be aggressive at times in how they choose to interpret their contracts with people in very difficult situations. To your point.
Sure. No, definitely.
Yeah. And so I had some wonderful people who did this practice, and I started doing it on a day-to-day basis and enjoy it. And I think that's really the key is, especially in the law, it's hard to know what you're going to want to do until you start doing it day to day. Because there are things that can sound cool, right? Like, ooh, white collar defense, I'm going to do high level crime. And then what do you end up doing? You're like trying to talk down your sobbing client and beg the 27-year-old AUSA not to indict him. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's too stressful. I don't want to be responsible for somebody's freedom. But, other people may enjoy that. But the work that I do, it's very different. I'm constantly working on different claims and different types of business and meeting different people. And so on a day-to-day basis, it fit for me really well.
Awesome. Great stuff. What a neat story too. So if someone's listening and wants to get better at, personal or any kind of thing, if you come across any podcast or books or anything you like to do that's helped you in your journey and just strengthen yourself personally or professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that professionally, not having been somebody who knew any lawyers, and I do think a lot of young people will find themselves in the situation. They might be interested in the law. They don't really know what that looks like. They don't really know. They might be intimidated. I was very intimidated about the idea of going to law school, even with the scholarship and someone telling me, hey, we think you can do this. I found the idea of being around lawyers extremely intimidating. I didn't really know any, right?
Sure.
And so I found that for me, looking at books, right? Looking at books, there's, 1L, right? Is a book about what to expect from your first year of law school. I'm the kind of person who wants to have an opportunity to kind of visualize something or have a little bit of experience with it first, and I can see myself in it. And so I think with books like that explain, look like, here's what you will likely find yourself in. Here's what it's like to sit in a first year
class,
law school class. Yeah, it can be very helpful. So I think that to me, those kind of firsthand experiences are very useful to get.
Nice.
Including what you're doing here with this podcast, which is like, hey, look, I'm a person, this is what I did, and you can do it too. I think that's very gives normal people a sense that like, oh, I can actually do this, as opposed to it seeming like some far off, distant,
unattainable goal or achievement. No, good, very good stuff. And I think having the book or something that you can do, that's awesome. So what's one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career path or journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think higher education is very difficult for folks who don't have family who plan for it. I grew up very rural. I mean, very rural. It was, we had a wood burning stove. That was the heat for our house. We would, split wood every fall and plant food and hunt food. And it was a very kind of almost like just a
frontier.
throwback kind of existence.
Yep.
Yeah, in a way, like it didn't even really feel like the 90s in Xenia, Ohio in the 90s. So to go from that immediately to New York City and to know no one was pretty an intense transition. But I think, especially when you're young and especially when you're college, you can do that, right? And I think I encourage people to do that. Like, do it young, do it when you have a lot of flexibility in your life. What's the worst thing that can happen, right? Just go back to where you are.
Yep.
And then actually, my husband and I moved from New York to Houston because he has two small children. Their mother moved them to San Antonio. We didn't know anybody who lived south of Washington, D.C. We'd never been to Texas, but I find that kind of just looking at those situations as opportunities and as opportunities to learn and grow is gets you to places you never would have expected and often in a good way.
That's awesome. And I've often heard it said like things happen for you, not to you. And just this, your viewpoint of the same event occurring can greatly change. You're going to go this way or this way. And if you perceive yourself as, oh, it's everything's bad, you're going to kind of wallow in it. But if like, hey, it's a challenge. Let's grow, what kind of positive stuff. So having that mindset of, you know, it's an opportunity. We may not be right now, not feel like it, but let's make it an opportunity and grow from it. So I think that's really important with people who have success is, seeing those challenges because everybody's going to get knocked down or have challenges. And it's just how you, I think, deal with those and confront them really sets your trajectory in one way or another. So it's so important. And even thinking about it beforehand, like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to get knocked down at some point, not literally, but hopefully. But then you may have an insurance claim. But then
Exactly.
but just knowing, hey, it's spend a few minutes, very brief time on going, all right, this stinks, but then you got to pick yourself up, dust off, and start figuring out solutions.
And one of the things I like about some of the conversations that you have is kind of some of the explicit discussion about money and how to handle it and ways to like manage your money. Because I found that was also a challenge. If you come from a place where you don't have much money,
Sure. No,
I made partner effective January 1, 2020. I told you I had great timing in my life. And all of a sudden, it's kind of great because, your income has increased. You're getting a portion of the share of the proceed, the actual profits of this firm that you now co-own. But I had no idea what to do with it. And it sounds like a silly problem, right? You're like, oh, I have some money. But oh my God, what do you do with it? How do you manage money? I have no idea. And then you start panicking because you're like, I'm going to do a bad job of this. I don't know how to plan for retirement. I don't know where to put this stuff. And I feel like I'm still learning in that area. And I found some of your conversations very helpful because
thank
it sounds like a silly problem to have, but it is a problem if you
no, and
never
I
learn
think
how to do
that's
it.
well, I think it's a lot of problem within society, the greater society. I mean, it's magnified when you see maybe pro athletes that all of a sudden go from very
Yeah.
meager means to millions of dollars, or somebody. I mean, I've read this. It's been a long time ago, but the people that win the lottery, like
Mhm.
the vast majority of them are
Go
broke
broke in
within
like few years, right?
yeah 2 or 3 years. They've blown through all the money, or they're dead because they've gone off and started doing drugs or alcohol. Just they've gone completely off the deep end just because they've never had that money and just getting some basic financial skills. That's my daughter that's wanting to go to law school. Back to her, I'm like, take a finance or an economics class because you really need this. Or even friends whose children are wanting to go the medical route. I'm like, it would be very helpful to have an economics or a finance because you're even as a doctor you've got a business or a lawyer. You need to know how the finances are working. If not, there's a good chance you may be getting somebody may be scraping money out that just so you can at least look at your financial packet and say something the numbers aren't lining up here. So as I've told her, like even if it takes you an extra semester, you need to have some basic finance skills with whatever you want to do law wise or medical or whatever it's going to be. I think it's a great, even if you want to be in the trades of some sort, it's a community college taking a finance or some economics class, I think would be so helpful for people that were going to be in HVAC or plumbing or any of those things. Welding, there's a lot of different stuff, but having some basic financial skills are so important. And it doesn't matter if you're making 50,000 a year or 5 million. You need to. There's so valuable for people to be able to do that.
Oh, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Money makes the world go round until you understand it. can be a very tough place to navigate.
For sure. Well, it sounds like things are going well, and congratulations on that. And so a lot of people start having success. They start considering different avenues potentially to create other income and different things, maybe that don't need your time. Like, some people are stocks or real estate and different things like that. Do you have any thoughts on any of that, or have you been involved in any thing that you've liked?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing in the beginning, if you really start having some money that you need to figure out where to put it from a growth and tax advantage purpose,
Mhm.
is to have an advisor or to listen to people like
For
yourself or
sure.
others who kind of giving advice on those issues. I feel like I am still learning though. So I have, accounts that I'm happy with and that are growing that I'm making contributions toward, but no kind of property holdings or anything beyond personal, and I am still kind of looking to grow in those areas.
Awesome. Well, it's good stuff. And I think that's something we encourage is just, look at different opportunities. Because I know with me, as I get older, I'm like, all right, at some point, am I always going to have to be out hustling, or is it start creating some mailbox money, at least discovering, just starting to do discovery and learn more about it?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Important. So as we're wrapping up, do you have any exciting plans or initiatives in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, well, our practice keeps growing in different areas. I would say that there's the insurance industry is always changing, and AI is hitting it like you would imagine it's hitting everything else. So I've been spending a lot of time doing sort of thought leadership on how AI fits in insurance programs. And in addition to insurance explicitly for AI, and insurance companies are starting to pull back and put in exclusions for that kind of loss, and in ways that I think
Interesting.
people don't understand the way that those terms are going to work could cause real problems down the line. So that's an area of big focus for us, and like it is, I guess, kind of for everybody else, but in a unique way because we're really looking at protecting against risks of loss associated with AI.
Well, and what an interesting time, because a lot of it we don't even know. We can't even see over the horizon yet to know what losses, how that's going to affect business and personal lives and all. It's yeah, AI is definitely a topic of almost every one of my interviews now. No matter what industry people are in, is how is it going to affect and how's it going to be utilized? There's lots of good things, but we got to kind of harness things and be mindful for the negatives also.
Yeah, it's touching everything, and insurance is always a bit of a crystal ball, and AI is big time crystal ball. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be continuing to work on that for the next few years.
I bet so. So, Tamara, thank you so much for your time and sharing lots of good information with our listeners. If people would like to connect with you and maybe learn more about what you do, or maybe utilize your services, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty findable. Lawyers like to be findable so that y'all can reach out to us. So if you just look me up, Tamara Bruno Pillsbury, work email, work phone is usually the best way. I never got into social media, so I don't really do that, but feel free to reach out. More than happy to chat about anything
Awesome.
insurance related.
And
And it doesn't have
LinkedIn also. She is on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. So
That is
yeah,
true. That is true.
that's professional social media. So it's
Correct.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great time getting to know you and learning about you. Listeners, be sure to like and share this episode and reach out and make contact with Tamara if you have a need, or hopefully you don't have insurance claims, but if there's something or you want to utilize her services, I bet she would be great at it. But thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Nick. It's been a great time.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.